Good evening and thanks for joining us for Saturday's news. A failed armed robbery in Rabaul town yesterday has left 2 dead and 2 others wounded. Provincial Police Commander Senior Inspector Joseph Tabai has confirmed the incident happened at a Beach Dimar buying point, the Garden Enterprise store in Rabaul town. It is understood the 4 men, all from East New Britain origin, were intercepted by a police patrol whilst trying to carry out the robbery. The 4 men were caught off guard and began firing at police. 2 of them were shot dead during the confrontation, whilst the other 2 were seriously wounded and hospitalized. PPC Tabali says the thugs were armed with 2 homemade guns and ammunition of high-powered firearms. He has sounded a warning to criminals in the province that the police will be going down hard on them. Yesterday's failed robbery came a month following a series of armed holdups that hit the town of Kokopo. Retail fuel prices for petrol, diesel and kerosene will all increase throughout the country as of Monday, 8th of October. According to the Independent Consumer and Competition Commission, the increase is mainly attributed to the increase in import parity prices for this month and increases in the domestic sea freight rates for the last quarter of 2018. Furthermore, the increases in the IPPs have mainly been due to the depression of the PNG kina against the US dollar and the increases in the crude oil prices last month.
The domestic retail fuel prices for petrol, diesel and kerosene are inclusive of the import parity prices, domestic sea and road freight rates for the last quarter of 2018, the 2018 wholesale and retail margins for petrol, diesel and kerosene, including excise duties for petrol, diesel and GST. As a result, the maximum retail prices for fuel in Port Moresby are as follows. Petrol will increase by 9.48 toya, diesel by 9.23 toya, and kerosene by 7.52 toya. Retail prices in all other designated centers will change according to the approved in-country shipping and road freight rates charged by fuel wholesalers. Petrol and kerosene will increase by 6.79 toya and 4.59 toya respectively, while diesel will decrease by 6.09 toya. As part of ICCC's enforcement and compliance of fuel prices, its investigation officers will conduct inspections at all service stations to ensure that prices of petroleum products do not exceed the allowable maximum prices. Retailers who sell fuel using pumps are reminded to set prices to 1 decimal place, while the ICCC will continue to set the maximum price to 2 decimal places. No fuel pump or operator should charge above the indicative retail price for this month's price, regardless of the number of decimals. This is to ensure compliance with the Prices Regulation Act, under which the maximum prices for refined petroleum prices are set. Consumers are advised to report any instances of overcharging by retailers through the ICCC's Consumer Protection Division or by contacting regional offices. Charlene Airy, National EMTV News.
The Works Department has been engaged to build infrastructure for a new junior high school at Numbo LLG in the Yangoru Saussia district. These infrastructures include a 4-in-1 double-story classroom and 4 teachers' houses. Work on the construction of these buildings was launched through a groundbreaking ceremony.
Close to 2,000 parents and children gathered at Numbo LLG to witness the beginning of a new era for education in their LLG. Yangoru Saussia MP Richard Maru was welcomed with traditional sing-sing and an applause as the Numbo community gathered to witness a historic occasion. Present with MP Maru were representatives from the East Sepik Education Department and the Provincial Works Office. When launching the construction of the new junior high school, MP Maru announced his intentions on focusing on education for children in Yangoru Saussia.
Right now the focus is on building the school now. Make sure you run good as far as grade 10 is concerned now. Start looking some of the results past it. So I'm by me working myself. Grade 11 and 12 a big plan taking now. Unless you make a good academic grounding and standard, minula kalavaria. Larem na old school established long time na. Only got system na, process na quality stuff finishing me, help you more na. Only look at your Mangilo grade 11 or 12 na goal.
Numbo is one of the 4 LLGs in the district, but does not have a high school. Thus, most students after completing grade 8 go to Yangoru or Customary Secondary, which are in another LLG. Robin Yamangu is a parent. He says for over 40 years, the Numbo community have been seeking better education for their children in schools in Wewak Open and other districts.
As a parent, mi hama masru, na mi etum, mi stop no school, mi karamol beginning mi go place long, Mary long Rabaul now beginning school, so I am mi pani medication about. So now this is high school, marukam na. Ki money na build tomorrow na go sem. This is high school by bringing people along Numbo na even narula part of Numbo area so they start along all over the country or even the Wewak town or scattered na come settlement about there. All back and back and the come back in the place na developing place na imi stop.
The Works Department will be in charge of the construction, and they have been directed to complete the classrooms and teachers' houses in 4 months.
Works Department mi plagat big plan mamas long member of you pla Yangoru Saussia long trust him. That's the department. That's the department. That's the only department where we believe was it's a technical arm long the whole country where all get a work on some classroom, housing, one up. Where all department is leading service. This is the department where we're going to build him. Now, you know, it's not the other departments. This is the technical and where Works Department where support law, stop plus 2 law, executive projects were funded by the government of the day.
Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Renovation work has commenced on the Sepik Highway starting at Kriya Junction. The roadwork conducted by HBS Construction is being rebuilt through funding support from the Australian Government through the Papua New Guinea Australia Transport Support Program. So far, work has reached Marek, few kilometres away from the Pasam National High School.
The Sepik Highway is a priority road network in the O'Neill Able government. Following a visit by Australian government officials to East Sepik province in September, an agreement was reached to seal this national highway. Roadworks have commenced 3 weeks ago and will continue for the next few months.
Then we look forward to a restored Sepik Highway of the highest standard and quality. And it's really up to HBS and the Department of Works to work together and our local contractors and our people and your staff to make sure you deliver a very good product at the end of the day.
The 121-kilometer Sepik Highway is an important road link for 7 districts in East and West Sepik provinces. It links up the provincial capital, Wewak, to Ngoram, Maprik, Drakikia and Nuku. In the last 20 years, the limited road maintenance has resulted in the deterioration of the road.
Thank the Australian government for funding the upgrade of the Sepik Highway. It's a very important economic road for us certainly in the East Sepik and West Sepik provinces.
The rebuilding of the new road is a positive sign for over 400,000 vanilla, cocoa and coffee farmers in the province. It is estimated to boost the economic growth in the province, making it easier for farmers to bring their produce to Wewak.
Fix this road, that a very important link between Maprik and Wewak town, and hope as well to collaborate with all the local contractors.
Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
You're at National EMTV News. Stay tuned for more coming up after these messages. Welcome back. A 24-year-old woman is amongst 4 men who were arrested by Manus police during a drug bust in Lorengau. Police confiscated a large quantity of marijuana worth at least 10,000 kina if sold on the streets. 800 kina in cash was also confiscated during the raid. Manus police say the drugs were transported into Manus from Medang during the Bitlna trade. This is not the first time for police to confiscate drugs from people travelling into Manus on Bitlna trade. Today saw the groundbreaking of a new Alotau Town Market and Fisheries project in Alotau. The 33 million kina project is an initiative of the National Fisheries Authority and the Alotau provincial government, funded by Japanese International Cooperation Agency or JICA. Chief Representative of JICA, Takashi Toyama, said the government of Japan through the JICA is happy to help for the benefit of Milne Bay. Alotau MP and Deputy Prime Minister Charles Abel, when officiating the groundbreaking, urged the people of Alotau to look after these projects once it is completed. He added that the district will see more major development and the new market is one of them. The Alotau Market and Fisheries project is expected to be completed next year. The work of churches in spreading the gospel is vital for the community. Kokopo MP Emil Tamur told believers at Rabaul Catholic Church in East New Britain recently. Kokopo District Authority budgeted 50,000 kina in 2018 to support the work of all mainline churches.
Believers of Rabaul Catholic Church and church leaders gathered for a special occasion this week to pay tribute to the work of church in the sub-parish. The event also coincided with the opening of the new church. Kokopo MP Emil Tamur acknowledged the good work established by the Catholic Mission in Kokopo and East New Britain province. The MP said the district will support churches for the good work they do.
Now new church opening and we must keep up in new life. Inside the life maybe old man marry the place so that we can walk about forward. Now reaching this goal where big man is planning the life maybe one.
East New Britain is dominated by Christian followers. Churches like Roman Catholic, Seventh-day Adventist, Lutheran, Anglican and United Church play a huge role in spiritual development and services like education and health. According to MP Tamur, all churches will receive 50,000 in the 2018 district budget.
No say me by supporting Catholic as all. No God. SDA, Lutheran Church, Anglican, United Churches, now all churches, all new churches, Pentecostal churches, we are sorry, you support me by go to the in one kind of some Catholic church.
The new church structure will serve the Rabaul sub-parish. Bishop Francisco Fanfilo encouraged parents to strengthen the faith not only at church but at home.
Number one teacher belong believe in all Papa Santo, in all Archbishop, in all Pater or sister. Number one teacher belong believe in Papa Mama inside long one family.
The Archbishop then blessed the new church structure in front of hundreds. Jacob Howard Jr. National EMTV News.
The Kendry and Gloucester district in West New Britain province has put its hands up to farm cocoa in the remote district. Local MP Joseph Lelang says although West New Britain has a majority of oil palm growers, but now all of them want oil palm. Mr. Lelang was in Kokopo this week where he signed an agreement with the Cocoa Board of Papua New Guinea to have 500,000 cocoa seedlings shipped to his district. A cheque of 250,000 kina from the district's funding have been put forward for this expedition. You're at Saturday's news. Stay tuned for more coming up after this break. Welcome back to the news. Police in Manus have recaptured one of the 3 convicted prisoners who had escaped from the custody of correctional officers at the Lorengau jail. Junior Mark, 23 years old, from Bupichupen Lelemadi LLG, was recaptured while the other 2 are still at large. Mark was charged for being in possession of drugs and sentenced to 3 months with hard labour. The other 2 escapees are 37-year-old Mark Kereng from Punjru village, who was convicted for murder and given a 21-year sentence. Bill Kana, 38-year-old, also from Bupichupen Lelemadi LLG, was also charged for murder and is serving a 17-year sentence. Manus Provincial Police Commander Chief Inspector David Yapu said the incident occurred between 3rd and 4th of October. The underlying laws in Papua New Guinea need to be developed, and the Constitutional and Law Reform Commission has been given $500,000 by the government to collect customs throughout the country to help in the development of the underlying laws. Fidelis Sukina with more.
The underlying laws are applied when the laws drawn down from Westminster society is not applicable, so there must be a use of customary law and of Western law to hand down judgment. The CLRC has been given the mandate to monitor the development of the underlying laws so that decisions at the National Court are handed down on time.
The court will then determine the case based on the custom and the Western law and develop what we call the underlying law.
It is expensive for clients and lawyers to look for customary law information. Most times to fly in leaders of clans are costly, so CLRC will travel around the country to collect the customs.
Because lawyers don't have the time to go and record the customs of their clients. And if there's a client that comes before them, they will then charge them fees.
The whole idea is for the information to be available to lawyers and judges to help them with the underlying laws.
That we record those customs and then make it available. So it will now help the lawyers and the judges to then formulate what we call the underlying law.
The YCCC district will have their customs collected, and all their 3 LLGs will be visited to have the information available to court.
We will record the customs of Wasu, of Sialong, of Siasi. And if there are disputes from those 3 LLGs, individuals from those LLGs, they come to the National Court. The National Court doesn't have to go and say, well, where's the custom?
Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV News.
Turning overseas now, Brett Kavanaugh is all but certain to be confirmed as a U.S. Supreme Court Justice when the Senate holds a final vote. Despite allegations of sexual assault, contentious hearings and a national outcry by victims of sexual violence, 3 formerly undecided senators now say they will accept Kavanaugh's nomination.
After one of the most intensely fought confirmation battles in a generation, Brett Kavanaugh now headed to the Supreme Court.
I will vote to confirm Judge Kavanaugh.
A key Republican Senator, Susan Collins, announcing she would vote to confirm Kavanaugh for a lifetime seat, and handing President Trump a historic victory amid furious protests over Kavanaugh's nomination and sexual assault allegations.
We will be ill-served in the long run if we abandon the presumption of innocence and fairness, tempting though it may be. The facts presented do not mean that Professor Ford was not sexually assaulted that night or at some other time, but they do lead me to conclude that the allegations failed to meet the more likely than not standard. Therefore, I do not believe that these charges can fairly prevent Judge Kavanaugh from serving on the court.
Collins had been under enormous pressure for weeks, facing angry protesters storming her office and forcing her to be escorted by police who blocked anyone, including reporters, from approaching her. The senator even interrupted at the beginning of her speech.
The senator will suspend, the sergeant-at-arms will suspend.
Senator Joe Manchin, a red state Democrat up for re-election in November, also announcing his intent to support Kavanaugh as protests broke out in front of his office.
You can listen to the people here. Are you concerned about...
Very much concerned, basically, with the sexual abuse that people have had to endure, and very much concerned that we have to do something as a country. But I had to deal with the facts I had in front of me.
Kavanaugh now will be confirmed by one of the narrowest margins for a Supreme Court nominee in history, ending a fight that bitterly divided the country just ahead of next month's midterm elections. Behind the scenes, Republican leaders scrambled after Collins said she'd announce her decision on the final vote later in the afternoon, with top Republican leaders privately lunching with her and hearing her concerns. Both parties were on edge all day as protesters hounded key senators after Kavanaugh's nomination barely cleared a crucial roadblock to advance to Saturday's confirmation vote.
On this vote, the yeas are 51, the noes are 49. The motion is agreed to.
Collins and Manchin, along with Republican Jeff Flake, all voted to advance the nomination. But Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska quietly voted no.
Ms. Murkowski.
She later told reporters it was the most difficult evaluation she's had to make, saying he's not the right man for the court at this time.
Now, after her speech, Susan Collins told reporters that she had actually struggled with this decision, even as she went point by point defending Brett Kavanaugh's record and all the allegations made against him in that speech, even questioning whether or not Christine Blasey Ford, one of Brett Kavanaugh's accusers, was being used by Democrats to derail the nomination. And Joe Manchin, I asked him if he believed Christine Blasey Ford's account, and he said he did, but he also said he isn't sure that it was actually Brett Kavanaugh who sexually assaulted her. He believed it may have been somebody else. And he also thinks that the FBI investigation was thorough from what he's seen, siding with the Republican arguments. But now the question is, how much backlash will those two receive at home?
And back home, Deputy Prime Minister Charles Abel says the 2019 budget financing is gathering momentum. Minister Abel said with taxation revenues on target and dividend payments, targets will be met before the budget will be handed down in November. He made these comments recently in Port Moresby.
The Papua New Guinea national government is set to hand down the 2019 budget in the November session of Parliament.
On the budget, we're planning to hand it down on the 30th of November. And essentially it'll concentrate on, the priorities in the Alotau 2 Accord and, of course, the new Medium-Term Development Plan 3.
The bulk of the budget will be from the taxation, around 75%. That's from the Internal Revenue Commission and Customs.
Probably, I would say, 75% of the budget comes from taxation revenue, and the bulk of it, the largest one is personal income tax. It comes from salary and wages tax. Number 2 is company tax. Then you have withholding tax, GST. Then you've got the customs collections coming in, which is partially GST, and of course excise and duties. Takes it up to about 75% of the budget comes from.
The balance will be from non-tax revenue, while the shortfall will be from financing.
IRC and customs revenue, and then the balance comes in terms of non-tax revenue, fees, dividends, and so on. And then, of course, you've got the financing side of it. The financing comes in, you have a budget deficit, you've got revenue, there's a shortfall in terms of relative to expenditure, and that comes in terms of financing, and that adds to your debt stock.
The sovereign bond is one of the financing measures that will also help with keeping the growth of the GDP ratio below 35%, with the current rate at 32%.
Well, the bond is one of them. 640 million kina is coming from the bond. The balance of the bond, 1 billion kina, will be going into reducing debt, domestic debt, primarily short-term domestic debt, and so that we don't breach our commitments in as far as the debt to GDP.
Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV News.
This is Saturday's news. Trukai Sports is next. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with powerlifting. The national championship started today in Port Moresby, witnessing a total of 50 powerlifters from Morobe, Central, NCD, Mount Hagen, Goroka and the autonomous region of Bougainville. President Michael Kingston says the tournament will be used by the Federation to make selections for next year's Pacific Games. Also present and assisting with today's events were Australian athletes, judges and support staff.
Supported by PNG Air and sponsored by KK Kingston, this year's National Powerlifting Championships not only bring together elites such as former world champion and Pacific's best Linda Poulsen and world title contender Vagi Henry, but also attracted young and upcoming powerlifters from around the country.
Get it up, Justin!
all competing in the 47 to 120 kg plus. Some athletes have also challenged themselves by targeting to lift weight higher than their target or body weight.
The National Championships is, I guess, a culmination of several goals. The first goal is to select the best athletes to represent PNG at next year's Pacific Games in Samoa. The second part of it is to hold a national championships, which we haven't held in PNG powerlifting for many, many years.
Michael says so far with the competition in its early stages, athletes have already shown great results.
So unlike most of our events, which are very open, this event you have to qualify for. So all the guys and girls competing here today have posted the top 3 lifts or totals for the year so far.
Athletes have come from Mount Hagen, Goroka and Lae to join NCD and Central to compete for a place in the train-on squad for the upcoming events.
Very exciting things is the amount of new talent that's coming through. So if I look at the best lifts that I've seen today, I would say maybe half of them are from established, experienced lifters, but half are from new, up-and-coming talents. So as an example, we have a young lady named Samantha Guare from Lae. She's been in the PNG Games before, but she's never represented internationally. But she did a very impressive performance today, and for sure she'll be representing PNG overseas next year. And she's not the only one. There's a large number of young up-and-coming athletes who are starting to establish themselves as the future power.
Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
Still on powerlifting, President of PNG Powerlifting Federation, Michael Kingston, says athletes participating in this year's national championships will be selected to participate in this year's Oceania Championships as well as Asian Champs. He says while it is a competition, it will be used as part of athletes' training and preparations for the Pacific Games in Samoa next year.
With 2 international fixtures coming up before the 2019 Pacific Games in Samoa, President Michael Kingston says preparations are underway for the athletes to attend this year's Oceania Championships in Australia.
So Oceanias will be in November on the Gold Coast, and then the Asia Pacific Championships will be in March next year. And again, I'm not quite sure exactly where the venue is yet, but I think it's also in Australia. Hopefully the team will be the same athletes who are going to represent PNG at the Pacific Games. But for Oceanias, it will depend on how quickly people can get passports. So for those athletes who already have passports and we can get visas for quickly, no problem.
He says with so much great talent on board at the national championships, it is up to the athletes to perform and achieve great results if they want to be in the squad. Fagi Henry, who is helping out with Team NCD and Central, says he is looking forward to this year's Oceania Championships, but in the meantime will keep training.
There's a leading up competition happening in November, which is the Oceania Championships in Gold Coast. So the winners in this comp for each division, that's 15 athletes. If whoever wins in each of those divisions, they get a chance to play in the Gold Coast competition. Oceania is in November.
KK Kingston's support in the last few years towards some of PNG's top powerlifters has brought PNG to emerge at the top with the rest of the world.
Papua New Guineans have a God-given talent for strength sports. And all that was missing is the opportunity to develop that and show it to the world. And I think over the last 2 or 3 years, we've really taken great steps forward in achieving that. So, you know, at the last Oceania Championships, I think we won something like 47 medals. We amazed every other country because they hadn't seen PNG for a long time, and here we came, we really taught them a lesson. So our goal is to do the same thing and keep lifting PNG's profile internationally as a real force to be reckoned with in powerlifting.
Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues with more after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The Australian PM's 13 overcame scenes of chaos, which saw players running from the field to escape a fan invasion to seal a 34-18 victory against Papua New Guinea. The match was brought to an abrupt halt midway through the first half when thousands of Papua New Guineans surged onto the field, sending the Aussies rushing back the sidelines as almost half of the 14,007 fans rushed onto the playing surface. The match was stopped for almost 10 minutes before officials and local police managed to escort the thousands of fans back to their seats. Moving on, and we'll bring you more on this story in tomorrow night's bulletin. Moving on, the 2018 Parachuting World Championship has commenced in Australia. Over 25 countries will be participating this year in 10 disciplines.
And creating a colourful sky-high spectacle, the world's most experienced jumpers filling southeast skies.
That was amazing, so many parachutes in the air.
This is the 2018 World Parachuting Championships, and after almost 20 years, it has landed on the Gold Coast.
500 competitors out here are going to have fun. When they go back, they're going to be a great ambassador for our city.
Representing 25 countries, these fearless flyers will compete in 10 disciplines, some expected to reach speeds of up to 600 kilometres an hour. Today's showers only adding further suspense.
Might dampen the roads and the sand, but it doesn't dampen the spirits of the competitors, and that's the main thing.
Opening ceremony saw fans line the streets, eager to see their favourite jumpers before they take to the sky.
Main event, great place to do it. It's good for tourism, good for the sport as well.
On a packed-out surfers paradise foreshore, hundreds of skydiving enthusiasts proudly cheered on the start of the week-long event. And if you think this is spectacular, the jumpers promise it's only up from here.
That is such a cool view up there. That was fantastic.
Maggie Rayworth, 9 News.
They've experienced the pressure of gold medal matches, but members of the Black Ferns admitted to a few nerves ahead of their visit to a South Auckland women's prison. One of the players says it's a place she could have been in herself had it not been for the game of rugby.
When it comes to World Rugby, the Black Ferns are used to setting the bar rather than packing down behind them.
I've never really experienced anything like this, so I was a little bit nervous, but once I got in there and seeing the girls playing alongside them, playing the drills, they're just like us, they're like my cousins that I have up home, you know, we're whānau either way.
Members of the 15s and 7s side leading the witty workout. For some, it's personal. Winger Renee Whitcliffe dabbled in drugs and alcohol at a young age and admits she was on a destructive path.
I wasn't a very good kid back then, but yeah, I just said to them that rugby pretty much saved my life. It means so much to have the girls come in, the wahine come in. It makes us feel normal, you know, although we're prisoners, it just makes us feel like there's something else to look forward to.
And while this South Auckland prison is a world away from the San Fran podium, it's on this gym floor that this group of women find common ground.
Just to come in here and share our stories, interact by just passing a ball around, I think they enjoyed that today, so it was really cool.
A challenge laid down in the hope of inspiring positive change.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details coming up next.
Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
Looking at the weather forecast in the southern region, fine in Port Moresby, Daru, Alotau, and mostly fine in Kerema, shower or two in Popondetta with a top temperature of 30 and a low of 23. In the Mamase region, cloudy with showers in Lae, showers and rain in Wau, few showers in Medang, Wewak and Whanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, a shower or two in Lorengau and Kavieng, showers in Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka with a low temperature of 23. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka and Kundiawa, showers and fog. And Mendi and Wabek, showers with fog as well. Strong wind warning for strong southeast winds of 20 to 34 knots are expected to continue. Rough seas for the next 24 hours causing rough seas. All small crafts and boats are advised to take necessary precautions when going out to sea. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island and Kerama, Yule Island to Hood Point, with Samarai Islands, waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, including waters of Long Island to Medang, Bogia to Wewak and Aitape to Vanimo, northern PNG Indonesian border, with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas of 1.5 to 2 meters. Waters of Finschhafen through Vitiaz and Dampier Straits to Siasi Islands and Long Island, seas of 0.6 to 1.5 meters. And waters of New Ireland to East New Britain and Bougainville, with waters of West New Britain Province, seas of 0.5 to 2 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas in the Coral Sea. Sea slide with east to southeast winds at 5 to 15 knots. In the Solomon Sea, sea slide to moderate with south to southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, sea slide to moderate with southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, sea slide with south to southeast winds at 5 to 15 knots, tending clockwise.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And before we go, a newly elevated school in Central Province has witnessed the opening of its new classroom. Dora Primary School headmaster Joseph Kua said the school has struggled with maintaining learning facilities but has strived for the best. Mr. Kua said the opening is significant and hopes more support will be given not only by the Karukuhiri district but central provincial government.
With some teachers in the country experiencing cuts to the pay, celebrations of the World Teachers' Day yesterday varied. For Dora Primary School, the school administration, students and parents were joined by Karukuhiri MP Peter Iso Aimo for this significant occasion. Headmaster Joseph Kua says similar classrooms are needed as population increases. He says despite financial hiccups, the district office has supported the school to build a classroom.
Who came and did the completion of the classroom early this year. So now we have this official opening to take place.
A local contractor was engaged to build a classroom at the cost of $115,000. Dora is one of the many elementary schools recently elevated to primary school status by the Education Division. MP Iso Aimo says education remains a priority for the district.
Money in the area of education sector, which is one of our government priority areas. We need to educate the indigenous population of this country to be able to face the workforce in the next 50 to 100 years.
The school was established in 2010. Current enrollment stands at 319 students with 9 teaching staff. The district's DDA will be consulted for expansion in building more classrooms in the near future.
With the improvement now in the economy where oil prices are picking up, we anticipate to have more funds rolling into the district coffers. So when that is done, yes, there is room for expansion here. So, we may have to build additional classrooms.
Similar financial support was given to other schools in the Karukuhiri district to build better classrooms. Jack Lapava Jr., National, EMTV News.
Meanwhile, there is great concern for nearly half of teachers teaching at Dora Primary School. School headmaster Joseph Kua told EMTV News the Education Department is yet to gazette their teaching positions. Kua says years of knocking at the doors of the department has become deafening. He says teachers are paid from other positions created in other schools in Central Province.
This is the problem that I have. All my positions, even though this year Gazette came out in June, my positions are still not gazetted for over 6 years now. Though we had been writing in letters, monthly returns went with that comment that all positions will have to be advertised, it was never done. So there is an oversight in creating positions for that school.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for Saturday, 6th of October 2018. On behalf of the news crew, pleasant viewing. Good night.